What is going on, guys? It's your boy Scrub here, back again with another video. Hope you guys are having a great day. I know I am. And today, I've got a collection of stories for you guys that I think you're going to love more than your favorite food, all right? I don't know, your grandma, things you love a lot. It's just a bunch of shorter stories people have sent in to me about their crazy neighbors. I did one of these like a year ago, so time for another. And yeah, if it sounds like something you're going to enjoy, be sure to press the like button or I'll be forced to fight you in the octagon. And without further ado, let's get into it.
They ain't give me nothing how to take shit. We ain't not the same, I can't be in your debate shit.
Alright, so this first story time is just a crazy neighborhood kid that did something that he definitely did not think through, but thankfully had parents that were willing to actually punish him. I don't know why, but I feel like most story times where a kid does something crazy that gets sent to me, the parents are like, "Oh no, my kid's still an angel." Well, ma'am, he just ran over 8 people. Well, it was an accident. He thought he was playing Forza. Either way, this guy's neighborhood is like pretty well connected. All of the neighbors get along to the point where once a year they have this like block party thing where everybody kind of makes a food, has it at the end of their driveway. You just hang out with the neighbors. It's basically like an extra 4th of July with less patriotism. You're not celebrating the birth of a nation. They just wanted to throw a block party. And obviously, some of the houses keep like their door unlocked and whatnot. Like if a house has a pool, they might have like hired a lifeguard to sit in the back so people can swim in it. I don't know. In my neighborhood, people weren't hiring lifeguards, but hey, if you got that lifestyle, good for you. Congratulations. Regardless, the beginning of the block party was pretty uneventful. Obviously, people were like playing music, just talking amongst themselves. But at the end of the street, a few hours into it, there's this huge commotion and people yelling at this kid to like get out of here and what house he lived at because they were going to go talk to his parents and he couldn't believe that he had the balls to try to do that during this block party. And so naturally, everybody at the block party starts going that direction to see what's going on because it was only people that lived in the neighborhood. So whatever was going on involved 2 people who lived close to each other. And that's the worst type of drama to have because there's really no escaping it. Like if you beef with somebody at work or whatever, it would suck to have to deal with it for 8 hours a day, but at least you can just go home. This is the opposite of that. The only escape you get from a fight with your neighbor is going to work. Because other than that, you're just always really, really close to them. Anyways, everyone gets down there and the scene that's on display for the entire neighborhood to see in the middle of the street is the owner of the house they're out in front of holding onto the shirt of this like, I don't know, 16, 17-year-old kid who's trying to pull away from him. Like the shirt is all stretched out and he's saying that he would never steal again and he's sorry, but just stop making a scene. He doesn't want his mom to know. And it becomes very evident that this guy was trying to steal something from this dude's house. And the only issue with begging people not to find out and him not to tell anyone was that he was screaming in the middle of the block party. And the entire block party had kind of gathered around to watch this. And of course, a few of the more concerned citizens were like, "Should we call the cops?" And the guy holding his shirt is like, "Don't call the cops, I just want to talk to his mom." And his mom's in the crowd and she steps forward and she starts yelling at her son before she even knows what's going on, being like, "Whatever you did, why would you embarrass me like this? If you tried to steal from a neighbor, you're gonna be in so much trouble." And so the guy lets go of the shirt and the kid like backs up and runs and hides behind his mom. Which if he's 5, 6 years old would be pretty normal, but if you're like a year away from being an adult and you think hiding behind your mommy is gonna stop the wrath of someone you just tried to rob, I got bad news for you, bro. That's not gonna work if you try to like rob a liquor store when you turn 19 and the police come to arrest you. You can't hide behind your mom, dude. She's not Master Splinter. She's not a karate expert out here. The guy who he had attempted to rob, though, starts saying that he had some people in the house from the neighborhood so that way he could show them this like theater setup he had installed. And they had come out of the theater, and I guess the kid who had tried to rob him had thought no one was there and that the door had just been left unlocked because the theater was in the basement. So this kid had been like in the main room, and when they come upstairs from the theater, the kid is just rummaging through this guy's stuff, throwing stuff everywhere. And obviously, when he turns around and sees everyone there, he freaks out and says he's sorry and starts trying to run away, saying like, I'm sorry. But the guy grabs his shirt. He doesn't want to like attack the kid. He just doesn't want to let him get away because he's putting two and two together that it's someone from the block party. And listen, I feel like it's pretty fair for someone to not want to let you go if they catch you robbing them red-handed. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, dude, sorry doesn't really cut it if I come out of the basement and find you rummaging through my belongings in the living room. I'm definitely hanging onto your shirt till the cops get there. You're lucky this guy was cool enough to just talk to your mom about it, bro. Anyways, they had tried to like pull each other, so he kind of gets pulled down into the street from his doorway or whatever. And that's where it had become this huge scene. And the mom just starts losing it on the kid, deservingly so, being like, "You're such an embarrassment for trying to rob our neighbors. What's wrong with you? Why would you steal from anyone? But especially, why would you ever try to steal from your neighbor when they're trying to be generous and like have a block party with us? Do you understand that this could ruin this event for the entire neighborhood?" And the kid's just standing there ashamed, and he should be, bro. Like, you just tried to commit a little robbery during a block party and then tried to escape by just saying sorry. Oh, my bad, bro. I don't really think that cuts it for robbery. That might work if you accidentally stepped on his shoe or something. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to. There's a long process that goes into like walking into someone's house that's not yours and rummaging through belongings. That's not an accident. Anyways, the mom apologizes and takes the kid home, and she's yelling at him the entire way about how like she was so embarrassed and she can't believe he would act this way, and that's not how she raised him. And everybody thought that that was kind of gonna be it, but instead his mom decided to take it to the next level and made this sign that he had to wear for a day walking around the neighborhood that said, "I tried to rob da-da-da and I'm very sorry." Which might be a little bit extreme, but at the same time, I guarantee you he'll never try to rob anyone again, at least hopefully. If this experience doesn't scare him into not robbing anyone again, I don't know what possibly could. This is like the worst thing that could happen other than getting arrested and going to jail. Anyways, the neighborhood has definitely become a little bit more aware of like locking their doors and stuff, but it's not like they think that this kid's gonna be a cat burglar or anything like that. And the sign and the embarrassment, he went around and apologized to everyone. Made everyone like very skeptical of him, but they just kind of left it at that. But I just thought the story was nuts. Don't rob your neighbors. Don't rob anyone. All right, so this next one I thought was pretty crazy. Not as crazy as the first one, but involves someone technically stealing, not from their neighbors, just something going on around this neighborhood. So the person who sent this to me lives in like an apartment condo complex type of thing, and you just kind of have to interact more with your neighbors in those situations than if you live in a house or something, because you literally are sharing walls, you have the same entryways. So whenever someone would move out, move in, it was very apparent to everyone in the neighborhood, because like you'd come home to a U-Haul truck blocking your parking spot, and then they'd be really loud for the next 2 weeks while they got used to living there. You know how it could be. So whatever, this person had someone move out of the apartment that they shared a wall with. And when the person moved out, they said that there was like a month left on their lease, so it should stay empty because they like were just moving into their next place and it was just not gonna be available for a month. So if they heard any noises or anything, it was probably someone trying to squat in the apartment, and they should let management know. And if you don't know what squatting is, like technically in certain states, if you break into an apartment and stay there long enough, it's a whole process for them to evict you and you get like a free place to stay for a bit. Granted, it's not gonna have power or water, but if you're getting to the point where you're squatting, it's not like you care anyways. In the first week of this empty month, there was no issue, but then late at night, this person would hear something like on the other side of the wall, not enough to know it's somebody there, but it almost sounded like somebody was like trying to set up some wires. He would hear a lot of stuff kind of like going up against the wall, kind of rubbing up against it. He would hear someone on the other side messing with the plugs a lot. And he would only hear it late at night, and he would never hear anyone on the stairs coming and leaving. He would only hear it at night. And after that, for a few nights, he would just hear this steady noise through the wall. And so he thought maybe it was like a maintenance man putting a deodofier in there. You know those ozone machines that get rid of the smell of smoke? The neighbor had smoked in the apartment, so he just figured it was one of those machines going for a while. But the hum just kept growing louder and louder, and now he was hearing a fan. So one day, it was the weekend, so he was kind of walking around the complex, and he saw the maintenance man, and he decided to ask what it was. And the maintenance man looks at him all confused and is like, what do you mean there's a noise coming from that? I don't have anything in there, so that's weird. And immediately he's like, ah, crap, someone's squatting in this apartment and it's been there for a while. So it's going to take forever to get rid of them, so I'm just going to have to be living next to this person who broke into this apartment, hearing whatever they're doing at night. This sucks. So the maintenance man grabs the key and he's gonna go look, and so he has to walk with the maintenance man back to his apartment because they share a wall. And the maintenance man opens the door and yells like, come out if you're in there, we've already called the police, you can't be here. And they don't hear anything. So the maintenance man goes in and he goes with the maintenance man just to provide backup, I guess. You never know. Someone crazy might be hiding in the closet. Get attacked like someone trying to work at Joe Exotic's Tiger Zoo. Anyways, they go in there and they search the apartment. Not very, very in-depth. They're not incredible apartment searchers or anything. It's not their job. But they're kind of confused because there's no one in there. But what is in there is all these shoe rack looking things that are just filled with graphics cards. And the maintenance man doesn't know what's going on. But the subscriber who sent this to me points out that it looks like it's a cryptocurrency mine. So they start looking around, and somehow whoever had broken in here and set up this crypto mine had gotten the power to turn back on and had been stealing the power under the person who had moved out's account for the last week or two to be mining cryptocurrency. And this all took place a while ago, not like in the last 3 years, but like 6-7 years ago. So if he held on to this cryptocurrency, probably a solid chunk of change just based on how much the value's gone up. But obviously, somehow this guy had gotten into the apartment and set up $20,000-$30,000 worth of graphics cards and mining equipment and had it running. And so the maintenance man calls the police come out and they're all looking at it. And so there's a bunch of cop cars out there. And the police take pictures of everything, start collecting it for evidence. And I'm gonna guess that at some point while the police are there investigating everything, gathering evidence, the guy who was mining the cryptocurrency came by, saw what was going on, and just was like, all right, well, that's lost, and drove away. Because after that, the person who sent this to me stopped hearing noises. It just didn't really happen anymore, so he figures they stopped coming around. Either way, though, I didn't know that people even did that. I knew people would mine cryptocurrency, obviously. I've heard of that. But I didn't realize that people were breaking into apartments to steal power to do it. Now, I don't know if that'd be insanely profitable, but back in 2015, 2016, you probably got a solid chunk of crypto for doing it, but morally pretty messed up. They'll be breaking into apartments and stealing power. And what's craziest about it is eventually the guy who had the lease for the next month came back and started asking the neighbors what had happened, because he had gotten a $4,000 power bill. Because cryptocurrency, when it's being mined, uses a crap ton of power. And he was able to get in contact with the power company and didn't have to pay it. But dude, literally stealing thousands of dollars from people in order to run your crypto mine seems pretty messed up. So I don't know what's up with people's neighbors, but the next one that I liked also had to do with stealing. So be on the lookout, packages going missing, Uber Eats, always know that your neighbor could be behind it. Okay, don't actually be that paranoid, that's a joke, but seriously, what's up with all these stories about neighbors taking things? So the person that sent this to me, this all took place a few years ago, right in the middle of all the 2020 craziness, and it just so happened that his parents were both essential workers, so they were gone a lot. And on this particular day, before his mom went to work, she had told him that he could order Uber Eats for lunch since she gave him some money to do it. And obviously, he's pretty hyped because he's like, yo, I'm gonna go and get me some McNuggets. So he orders his McNuggets, and it says that it'll be there in about 15 minutes. So he's sitting waiting, and most people at this point probably have a version of a doorbell with a camera on it, or are familiar with the technology if you don't have one. So sure enough, when the person gets there to drop off the food, he pulls up the app and is looking at the camera on the doorbell, watches them come up and drop off the food. So far, so good. Watches them leave and get in the car, and he's waiting for them to drive away because he hates that awkward interaction when they're supposed to leave it at the door, but then he opens the door before they're in the car, and then you have to do the, hey, it's just weird, just let them leave and then grab the food. And as soon as the car drives away, he sees some movement from across the street, and he's confused because he he sees his neighbor coming across the street. So he runs over to his door and starts looking through the peephole, just trying to be like, what is this guy doing? Why is he coming over here? Because there was no reason for him to. And he sees the guy walk over and pick something up on the porch. And at that point, he opens the door and swings it open, and the screen door is still there. And his neighbor has his Uber Eats bag in his hand and has it open and is looking down. And when he realizes that the door's open and someone's staring at him, he looks up and goes, "Oh, hey." And the kid immediately is like, "What are you doing with my food?" Because it's super weird to just go up to someone's door and take anything off the porch and look at it. But it's especially weird to be like stalking your neighbor's Uber Eats driver and then running up and grabbing the bag and inspecting it before they've even had a chance to touch it, or just inspecting it in general. I don't know, I would definitely not feel comfortable with my neighbor just rummaging through my stuff and checking it before I got it. So whatever, the neighbor is obviously stammering because there's no good excuse for that. There's literally nothing you can say to be in the right in this situation. So he decides to roll with one of the dumbest things I've ever heard and says that usually when he orders Uber Eats, they get the order wrong, so he just wanted to check to see if they got his order right, so he was just checking it for him just in case it was wrong. And the kid opens the screen door and snatches the bag out of the guy's hand and goes, "Thanks, but I can check my order." And the guy's like, yeah, of course, I wasn't trying to be rude, I just no excuse once again. And he says, "How about you go back to your house, but just never try to check my food again. Like if you ever see something dropped off on the door, don't come touch it. You really don't need to do that. We can handle it if there's something wrong." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to be a good neighbor." And listen, man, I don't know if that's very neighborly. I feel like just going to that level of spying on your neighbors is weird. And even if his heart was in the right place, "Oh, I was just trying to make sure your order was right." How would you know what they ordered? And also, what are you gonna do about it? Even if that was what he was doing, hypothetically, this kid opens the door. He's like, "Oh, they got your order wrong." What do you want this kid to do? Man, thank you so much. There's no way I would have noticed. Do you think this kid is a moron? I'm pretty sure he would have picked up the bag, gone inside, opened it, and went, "Oh, there's stuff missing that I didn't get that I paid for." He doesn't need you to do it for him. I feel like people are usually competent enough to remember what they ordered. And if you do forget what you ordered, Uber Eats tells you. So whatever, this guy was obviously trying to steal this kid's McDonald's. But this is even dumber to me because I really started thinking about it. When people order food on Uber Eats, it tells you when it's close, it tells you when it's there, it sends you a picture of it there, and usually people come and get their food pretty quickly. So in what world did he actually expect to be able to run up, take this food, and get away without the people inside the house that just ordered the food and know it's there noticing? Did he think that they ordered Uber Eats like 3 hours before they got home? They just love the idea of some really cold food sitting on their doorstep? If someone's ordering food to the house, they're obviously gonna come get it quickly, so just don't steal from your neighbors, duh. But it especially makes no sense to steal something in this situation, because you're batting about 100% chance of getting caught. "Oh man, where did my Uber Eats go? They sent me a picture. Dang, I can always check the thing that's always recording on my doorstep." And especially I love when people do stuff like this in front of a Ring doorbell. Because it's like, hey man, they just have footage of you doing it now. And sure enough, he went and checked and he had the footage of the guy walking up, picking up the bag and looking into it. "Oh man, they got your order right. Oh, McDonald's must really like..." His food was pretty good, but from then on, when his parents got back, he even warned them that if they order something to keep an eye out because he thought his neighbor was trying to steal the packages. And they were like, "Well, that's weird because we've had a bunch of packages going missing." So they kept an even more of an eye out. And I don't think he was dumb enough to try to steal from them again, unfortunately. Like, he was really stupid, but after he realized they were onto him and they had a Ring camera, he just stopped taking stuff from them, but other packages from other places kept going missing. So this guy was just the definition of a package bandit, not very swag, but at least he got caught by this kid while trying to steal some food. All right, before we get into the next story, I haven't done this in a bit, but if you guys are enjoying this so far, I'd really appreciate y'all taking a second to press the like button and commenting. I just want the video to do pretty good, so if you don't mind doing that, would really appreciate it, and let's get back. So this one was sent to me by someone who was born in Canada, but is going to school here in the United States, and he's renting a house a few blocks away from his college with some of his friends, and they live next to this old couple that I'm not sure is too familiar with the fact that Canada and the United States get along pretty well when it comes to politics and stuff. Listen, I know that every country's probably trying to spy on each other. Even if you're the best allies, you probably just are always trying to spy on each other and whatnot. But the idea that Canada is just flooding America with secret agents that are here to spy on everything and get all this information is ridiculous. One, I think they'd probably be able to just get the information, and two, what would just putting a random spy in some random neighborhood really do for them? It's not like it would give them some crazy information. Either way, the reason I know this is because they became obsessed with the fact that this guy was from Canada. And at first he thought it was just old people being a little quirky, being excited he was from a different place. But then the questions started to shift from general questions about being Canadian to weirdly trying to entrap him into admitting he was a spy for the Canadian government. They would be like, oh yeah, so I'm sure the Canadian government isn't too happy with what's going on around here. And he would be like, I don't know. I don't really work for the Canadian government or speak for them, but I like it here. And they would go on about how they bet that Canada, because they're so smart, has a bunch of spies here to try to gather information. And he would be like, well, I don't know. And they would give him this look of, you can tell me, man, I'm cool with it. And of course, he's just not a Canadian spy, so he's not going to tell them that he is one. But it was almost like clockwork. Anytime he would go to get the mail, anytime he would be going to his car, his neighbors would suddenly appear and just start talking to him about Canada and spying and da-da-da-da-da. And finally, one day, he just straight up asked him, why do you guys keep doing this? I'm not a spy for the Canadian government. I don't think the Canadian government has any interest in sending spies here. No offense to you guys, but this town doesn't have anything crazy important in it. So why would they send spies here, and why would they spy on America? He just didn't get it. And of course, these people, being the tinfoil hat-wearing conspiracy theorists who have convinced themselves that they're living next to a Canadian spy, reply to that saying that that is exactly what a Canadian spy would say. You see, ladies and gentlemen, everyone knows that a spy would say that being a spy is ridiculous and they're not a spy. So therefore, by denying that he's a spy, he's confirming he is a spy. I'm not really following the logic, because they're leaving one very important thing out. He can only say yes or no. So if he says yes, and that means he's a spy, and also saying no means he's a spy, aren't you just kind of making up a scenario where you're just guaranteeing you live next to a spy even if they are not? So he just says, whatever, if you want to think I'm a spy, that's okay, but you guys gotta stop magically popping up whenever I'm trying to go to my car or go to class. It's getting weird, I'm feeling uncomfortable. And they start saying that because he's a spy, it's not their job to make him feel comfortable. And he's like, I'm not a spy. I'm not a spy for the Canadian government. I think it'd be weird to assume anyone who moved into your neighborhood was a spy, just off rip. I just don't really feel like that level of espionage is really needed anymore. You don't need a random dude stationed in a neighborhood. You can just fly over it with a satellite and take a bunch of pictures. You can, read everyone's emails. They don't really need to have some dude on the ground. But it's especially absurd to think that they're sending spies from Canada. Back in the Cold War in the 80s, your neighbor's some new East German dude who suddenly has a satellite radio set up. Yeah, that's definitely a little bit more of a red flag raiser. Even then, probably not a spy. But in the year 2022, the odds of just some random Canadian guy working for the Canadian FBI out there spying on everyone, come on. But they start saying that they're not responsible for making him comfortable, and they're going to report him for being a spy. And he's like, report me to who? And instead of having an answer, I don't know who you would report someone for being a spy to. Probably the CIA or the FBI or the National Security Agency, one of those three. Instead of even saying one of those, they just say that they're going to report him to the government that handles spies. I think the government is the overarching term for all of it together, but yeah, somewhere out there, some specific government that only handles spies. It's not the United States. The United States government doesn't do that, but somewhere out there is some country that the only thing they do is they handle spies, all right? You want to spy? Not unless you get approval from these guys. So he's kind of like, all right, well, if that's what you have to do, if you got to report me to the spy police, if that's going to make you feel better, then I guess there's nothing I can do to stop that, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not a spy. And they finish the conversation by reiterating that that's exactly what a spy would say. No spy would admit they're a spy. Even though that just doesn't make sense, because you can only say yes or no. And even if he said maybe, let's be honest, you were going to say he's a spy then too. These people just really wanted to have an interesting life. Like, these are the type of people where nothing interesting has ever happened to them ever. They are the equivalent of an NPC. They're just known for being incredibly boring. And so they finally think something interesting's going on. And instead of just using common sense and being like, chances are that this is not some insane Canadian spy living next to me, they're just rolling with it. They didn't even have a possibility in their mind he wasn't a spy. Like, once they made it up, it is what it is. And so I guess they reported him to whatever the International Police of Spying Bureau government is. Their words, not mine, but I guess if he gets kidnapped by some van with a hood over his head, we know why. Maybe he was a Canadian spy. Wouldn't that be the ultimate plot twist? Like, he is a spy, and now that they're onto him, he's trying to send this story into me to throw them back off the trail. Well, if he's really a spy, why would he send it into the YouTube guy who makes the videos about stories? It's like, hey, good point, and that's how they get you. Wait, what if Canada's just faking it? They're not our friends. That Canadian guy, how long have you been leaving comments on my videos? Are you just a spy? Are you just trying to spy on me? That's a joke. He's a hero, okay? And this one is not as long as the others, but definitely up there in terms of the cringe. So if you're in a crappy apartment building, it can be really unfortunate because you can hear your neighbors really well. Like my Oma lived in a complex for a bit, and you could basically hear people having conversations in their living room and join in if you wanted to. Like, that's how thin the walls were. And so when you're in a situation like that, when it's late at night, you just gotta be really quiet because you don't want to be responsible for waking up a building full of people. At least I don't. Maybe some of you guys out there are just psychos. You're like, I love the idea of making everyone miserable. And there was one really spoiled kid who lived with his mom, and like basically his mom just got him whatever he wanted, and he would play video games really late into the night, and it usually wasn't an issue. But at the peak of Fortnite, I guess he was up playing late one night and got second place, and the only reason they know what place he got is because the dude literally started screaming. Keep in mind, the walls are so thin, you can hear conversations. So here this guy is screaming his head off about how he hates this game and he's gonna uninstall it, and the entire neighborhood is having to listen into this. And he's going off, and then his mom goes into his room and starts yelling at him to get off the game because he's being too loud. And that's the right thing to do. Like, you do yell at them to get off the game, but when she starts yelling at him to get off the game, then everybody starts hearing them going back and forth because he doesn't want to get off the game and blah, 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 and he doesn't care if he woke everyone up. And at that point, one of the people that he's woken up hears that he doesn't care about it, so they start yelling that he better get off the game, otherwise everyone's gonna hate him in this complex, and he doesn't care about his haters. It's one thing if you have haters that hate you for no reason. Like, if you just have people that want you to fail because they just want you to fail, that's annoying, that's weird. But if someone doesn't like you because you're waking them up at 3 a.m. because you can't calm down and have to be screaming at Fortnite, you can't really consider them a hater. I think that's just like a justifiable reason to be angry with you at that point. Oh, I'm ruining your sleep before you have to go work 8 hours at a job while I just sit here and mooch off my mom. I don't care. You're just a hater. I don't know, seems reasonable, man. They're not mad at you because you, like, have a computer. They're mad at you for waking them up because you're screaming at it too much. So, finally, I think he realized between everyone else's anger and his mom's anger that he should just go to bed, and that's what he did. But the next day, he doesn't apologize to anyone. He doesn't mention it. Instead, when he sees people, he starts being like, why are you guys so against me being able to have fun and be myself? And they're like, dude, we're all for you being yourself. Go for it. But screaming at 3 a.m. is not not being yourself. And if that's being yourself, then you can't live in an apartment, and that's not our fault. But yeah, when you start screaming at 3 a.m. with thin walls, you make it our problem. We can't just ignore it if we want to go to sleep. And he would try to argue a little bit, but basically everyone he tried to argue with just told him the same thing, which was like, sorry, you're upset, but I'm not going to apologize for getting mad at you for waking me up at 3 a.m. because I would do it again if you woke me up. And thankfully, he didn't try it again at 3 a.m. He probably realized from everyone's reaction that if he did it again, they were just going to break his computer for him. But I don't know, if you're just in a situation where your apartment walls are that thin, I would just avoid screaming at 3 in the morning, insanely inconsiderate. On that note though, guys, I think that's gonna do it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to press the like button, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below. And of course, subscribe if you're new and turn on those notifications. If you really like the story times and you'd prefer to listen to the audio version, like offline in the car, whatever floats your boat, I do upload them on Spotify. Feel free to check that out, link down below. And you'll also find a link to the intro song down there too. It's by my friend Poncho, so if you're enjoying it, like I said, link down below in the description. And other than that, like I said, like, comment. If you've made it this far into the video, go ahead and comment the word peanut butter down below because you're part of the very exclusive Past 30 Minutes Club, okay? This is a very elite club. Very few people will make it to this point. So by commenting peanut butter, you're just cementing the fact that you're better than everyone. But yeah, on that note, that'll really do it for the video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't get anyone pregnant. If you do, make sure they're hot, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. I'm out. Peace.